Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 25th of September and we are going to deal with three very important topics which are in news. First is the Cancer Moonshot Initiative. This initiative has been adopted by the Quad countries. This initiative is for the cervical cancer which is very common among women. Actually, cervical cancer is the third leading cause of cancer deaths among women in the Indo-Pacific region. India has contributed in elevating healthcare in this region during the COVID-19 crisis. And now also India has said that it will be supplying 40 million doses of vaccines, which India has developed of cervical cancer for this region. There has been, collaborative efforts by other members of the Quad like USA, Australia, and Japan for this purpose. Next is UN Summit of the Future. This UN Summit of the Future was this year's United Nations General Assembly's, I would say, name. And this Summit of the Future was envisaged by Mr. Antonio Guterres, the current Secretary General of the United Nations in 2021. There were discussions upon the SDGs, how we are going to achieve them, progress on climate goals, progress on nuclear disarmament, progress on, I would say, overall healthcare availability or healthcare services in the world. All these things were the points of discussion. It is considered to be one of the most successful United Nations General Assembly meetings because it has happened at this time where the entire world is suffering from the crisis happening in Russia and Ukraine region as well as West Asia. And the last is United Nations Security Council's emergency session on the situation in Lebanon. So we could see pagers getting exploded, walkie-talkies and mobile phones getting exploded in Lebanon. Then Lebanese people, not Lebanese people, but Hezbollah from Lebanon attacking Israel, Israel counter-attacking them. In a single day, yesterday, around 500 people were killed in Lebanon. And Israel has made it very clear that the war is not against the Lebanese people, it is against Hezbollah only. Unfortunately, Hezbollah is there in Lebanon, so this is a meeting which was there for Lebanon, for the situation in Lebanon. And then we will be talking about the MCQs. Now, Cancer Moonshot Initiative, the first topic. So, cancer, which cancer we're talking about? We're talking about the cervical cancer. And this Cancer Moonshot Initiative is undertaken by the Quad countries, USA, Australia, India, and Japan. This is basically a new initiative to reduce the burden of cancer in the Indo-Pacific region. And specifically, we've picked up cervical cancer this time. So this Quad Cancer Moonshot Initiative is basically for tackling cervical cancer this time. Obviously, other types of cancers will also be picked up under this initiative because it is Cancer Moonshot Initiative. It is not specifically Cervical Cancer Moonshot Initiative. So other forms of cancer will also be picked up. Now, this time we've picked up the cervical cancer. This cervical cancer is basically prevalent among women. And this is the cancer in the cervix. And where it is and all, we'll see through the diagrams and all of it. But yes, it is preventable. India has also developed a vaccine for this. And since it is preventable, it should not claim lives. So by this initiative, what will happen is these vaccines will be provided, detection and treatments and all will be provided to the countries in the Indo-Pacific region. So this is there, the increasing vaccinations against the human papilloma virus HPV and improving treatment options for the patients. This is the basic objective, or this program focuses on this. But yes, what is cervical cancer? So this is basically the reproductive organs of the females. The ovaries are, these are the ovaries. You can see it over here. This is the ovary. This is the ovary. And you come down here. This is basically called as, this narrow portion is called as cervix. So in this cervix portion, this cancerous tissue gets developed. If it is not detected at early stage, then that will be a causing, or that will be converting into a cancer. So cervical cancer is the cancer that starts in the cells of cervix. So cervix is this portion. The cervix is the lower narrow end of the uterus. Cancer usually develops slowly over time. So it is not like it happens instantaneously. So there are various, I would say, stages in its development. Like, for example, before cancer appears in the cervix, the cells of the cervix go through changes known as dysplasia, in which abnormal cells begin to appear in the cervical tissues. If it is detected during this stage, it is treatable. So, this initiative also entails provisions with respect to early detections. Over time, if not destroyed or removed, the abnormal cells may become cancer cells and start to grow and spread more deeply into the cervix and to the surrounding areas. Then that becomes a problem. So, this is what cervical cancer is. It is the third largest or third leading cause of cancer deaths among women in the Indo-Pacific region. Despite being preventable, this is preventable through vaccination and treatable if caught early. If it is caught in that stage, dysplasia stage, it definitely is treatable. Even in the initial stages when dysplasia is converting into cancer, that stages also it is treatable. But you know, if it spreads a lot, then it becomes difficult. Fewer than 1 in 10 women in the region have completed the HPV vaccination series. So, you know, only less than 10% women have undergone this vaccination program for this, I would say, HPV, that is the virus which is causing this cancer. So, less than 10% have undergone the recent screenings. The initiative acknowledges the gaps in healthcare access, resources, and vaccination rates in many countries within the region. So, just for an awareness, the female students, you just, I don't think so that your age is there to get this vaccination done. But yes, if anyone in your family is in this age, entering the teenage as a female, you should go for vaccination of that girl. And for yourself also, you can consult a doctor, a gynecologist, whether you should be having or you can take this vaccination or not if you have not taken. But yes, if there is someone in your family and is in the teenage or entering teenage, definitely they should be going for vaccinations, and it is your duty to make them aware about this. Now, key features of this Moonshot initiative. Cervical cancer focus is there at the moment under this. It was announced by US President Joe Biden during Quad Leaders Summit. The initiative aims to address cervical cancer, a largely preventable disease that poses a significant health crisis in the Indo-Pacific region. So, it is the third leading cause of deaths due to cancer in the Indo-Pacific region. Goals: the initiative aims to implement innovative strategies to prevent, detect, and treat cancer while supporting patients and their families. It will promote HPV vaccinations, human papilloma virus vaccinations, HPV stands for this, increase access to screenings, and expand treatment options in underserved areas in Indo-Pacific. India's role. So what India is doing, India is currently, developing this AI treatment protocol. AI, artificial intelligence, what it will do, it will develop predictive models. So let's suppose a woman whose these cancerous cells have started to develop. So, she goes for some, detection and all. So India will be having that technology once this is developed by using AI. They will be able to predict that this will, develop into this kind of cancer or that kind of cancer, or these kind of cells will be developed or not, and accordingly treatment can be given. It is not important, or it is not necessary that at that point of time you give or you go for radiation therapy or something like that for killing those cells. There can be other ways also which can be found out by those AI predictive models. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that India is developing an AI-based treatment protocol for cervical cancer, highlighting the initiative's importance in providing affordable healthcare in the Indo-Pacific. When we talk about financial commitment, India will contribute a grant of $7.5 million for cancer testing, screening, and diagnostics in the region. Support for treatment: India plans to provide support for radiotherapy and help build capacity for cancer prevention in the Indo-Pacific. Additionally, India will supply 40 million doses of HPV vaccine, which we have developed. We are administering. The government of India is administering these vaccines now. And that is why I'm telling you that if someone is there, you can go and get vaccinated through Gavi and Quad programs. Then technical assistance. India will also offer technical help for cancer screening and care, contributing $10 million to WHO's global initiative on digital health. So, this is basically what it is. Now, broader goals. under this initiative to reduce cancer death rates in the US by 50% by 2047. These are the broader goals, and improve the experiences of those affected by cancer. Quad partners aim to collaborate on cancer research and increase involvement from the private and NGOs, basically non-governmental sectors, to reduce cervical cancer's burden in the region. They also plan to work with UN agencies like WHO to lower the cost of HPV diagnostics and improve medical imaging and radiation therapy access through the International Atomic Energy Agency. So, International Atomic Energy Agency, why is this into picture? Because cancer treatments are all are done by this radiation therapy. Radiation therapy, nuclear fuel is used like uranium, plutonium, and all. And IAEA is that I would say related organization of the United Nations, which regulates the supply of I would say or of these nuclear fuels, or these I would say nuclear equipments which are used for these kind of therapies and all for treating cancers. So this is how things are. Next is UN Summit of the Future. Now, as the name suggests, Summit of the Future means there will be certain things, or there were certain things which the global leaders discussed about the future of this planet. Although, the world is going through or undergoing very difficult times as of now due to these wars happening or conflicts happening in Asia and Europe. But, we need to focus upon the future as well. Although the future goals, or the I would say the pace of achieving those goals which we had set for ourselves, like the SDGs, sustainable development goals, have to be achieved by 2030, or let's suppose the climate goal, which it is that the global warming, or the global temperature should not exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius mark by 2100 from the pre-industrial levels temperatures. These goals will be difficult to achieve, but yes, we need to look towards them. Okay, presently the situation is difficult, but yes, we cannot only keep on looking towards that situation only. No? We should focus upon, our focus should be there on the goals also, so that this entire planet has a prosperous future, a better future, a brighter future than the current scenario or than the present. That is why this name, Summit of the Future, is. So, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called the summit once in a generation UN summit. It is being projected as an important milestone in the history of UN as it enters the 80th year of its establishment in 2025. It was established in the year 1945. We all know that. So, this is what we need to understand. So, you could see, sustainable development, satellites, and all are there. Then, this is what all was talked about. So, context and background of this particular summit. So, this proposal of having this summit of the future was tabled by the United Nations General Secretary, Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres in 2021. In 2021, our common agenda report was released by the United Nations Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres, responding to calls from member states for innovative approaches to current and future global issues. Objectives: the summit aims to reinvigorate global actions and develop multilateral frameworks suited for contemporary challenges. One of the contemporary challenges is basically reforms in the multilateral institutions like United Nations. That also have to be done. Because if they do not do reforms, then their relevance definitely will reduce. And that is what the Indian Prime Minister said. Reforms for relevance. If you want to be relevant, if you want to be actually the global organization, you need to do reforms, you need to be more inclusive, because currently the systems and all are such that you are only representing the voice, or you are only representing the Western world or the developed world. Means your operations are tilted towards the developed West, and they are dominating over such kind of multilateral organizations. So the world has changed substantially, and this has to change. That is what you know one of the most promising, or one of the most pressing agendas was also participation. Over 4,000 participants are expected, including heads of the state, government representatives, and members of civil society and NGOs for this particular summit. Now, key features of the pact. The pact comprises 56 action designed to enhance progress on the sustainable development goals, particularly focusing upon peace and security, The Security Council reform has to be there. A progressive commitment to reform the UN Security Council to enhance its effectiveness and representativeness, especially addressing Africa's historical underrepresentation. Nuclear disarmament, a reaffirmation of multilateral commitments to eliminate nuclear weapons, marking the first such commitment in over a decade. Outer space governance, strengthening frameworks to prevent an arms race in outer space and promote safe exploration for all the nations. So, this has to be there. Nuclear disarmament also we're talking about. Outer space governance also we're talking about, because this is going to be one of the most pressing challenges for the times to come, because many countries are now launching satellites, and it can also be a scenario that satellites are being attacked by enemy countries in the space, so that your communication and all goes down. So we need to secure our space domain as well. We talked about it a few days ago. Nuclear disarmament means presently 9 countries are having access to nuclear weapons. It should not go more than that, because this is basically a dangerous weapon. And the world is obviously facing some very difficult times. The situation is fragile, and the threat of usage of nuclear weapons is also there. Then, sustainable development and climate action. Turbocharging the SDGs. Pact is designed to enhance the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Now, in our thematic discussions these days, we are covering SDGs. We've covered 10 SDGs till now. We will be covering the remaining 7 as well. So, we are seeing the current scenario, current challenges being faced for each and every SDG. What is India doing for those SDGs? How are states performing for those SDGs? Because SDGs are very, very important topic for the next years to come. The entire world will be focusing and doing its best for accomplishing those goals, those 17 goals. Although situation presently seems that, they'll not be accomplished, but yes, you have to try, keep trying, trying and trying. At least, you aim for the stars, you'll at least land up on moon. That is what the philosophy is. Then climate commitments, affirmation to the goal of limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius and transition away from fossil fuels by 2050. Digital cooperation, Global Digital Compact, a comprehensive framework for digital cooperation and AI governance, emphasizing technology's benefits for all, including commitments to internet connectivity and safe online environments as well. So, we need to digitalize so that ease of life comes into picture. And India has shown it to the world that despite being developing, the digital transformation of India has been very, very exceptional. India is able to lift out 250 million people out of poverty in the last 10 years. We can definitely owe it to digitalization, among other things. India is, performing well on the cybersecurity index as well. So we have made our digital space robust, strong as well. So this is how things are happening. Youth and future generations, declaration on future generations, initiatives to ensure the consideration of future generations in decision making, including potential appointments of envoys. Youth engagement, enhanced opportunities for young people to influence global decisions impacting their lives. Human rights and gender, strengthening human rights, emphasis on protecting human rights defenders and promoting gender equality and empowerment of women. So all these should be there. Now, why is this summit important? Basically, climate crisis is there. A lot of disasters are happening due to climate change or global warming. We need to address those gaps. We need to increase climate finance, and this year's COP, that is COP29, a new collective quantified goal will be adopted. This is nothing but the new climate finance goal, which will be adopted. We need to look into this. A lot of diseases are happening, a lot of disasters are coming, floods are coming, droughts are coming, cyclones are coming, impacting the lives of the people. So that has to be looked into. Global risks, climate change is identified as the foremost global risk over the next decade. So we need to do that. SDG progress, with only 17% of SDG targets currently on track. This is something which is concerning. The summit aims to address these gaps and reaffirm global commitments to sustainable development. Geopolitical tensions, the current geopolitical landscape presents significant barriers to achieving the SDGs, necessitating renewed collaboration and dialogue. Scientific innovation, UN has declared 2024 to 2033 as the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development, emphasizing the role of scientific solutions in enhancing SDG outcomes. So, we need to more and more adopt science or innovations to achieve these goals. So, this decade, you remember this thing, some recent developments. So before this, summit of the future, there was this, high level political forum on sustainable development in July 2024, setting the stage for the summit. Despite substantial investment gap of $4 trillion, see, to achieve the SDGs, you need funding. And how much is the gap? The gap is of $4 trillion. And this $4 trillion is a huge gap that needs to be filled. To meet the SDGs, notable advancements have been made in the areas such as renewable energy consumption, increasing from 16.7% in 2015 when these goals were adopted to 18.7% in 2021. 27% reduction in HIV infections from 2015 to 2022. Child mortality under 5 reaching a historic low of 4.9 million in 2023. Internet access now covering 95% of the global population. So these are some achievements also. But yes, as we know, 17% of the goals only are on track to be fulfilled. They are not fulfilled, but they are on track. Maybe in the times to come, more goals are there on track. Maybe less than this are there. The actual figure will come out in 2030 because that is the target year. And, we need to achieve most of these goals. So the Indian Prime Minister also delivered a speech in this United Nations forum, and the key highlights of his speech, he said that collective strength over conflict. He stated that achieving global peace requires cooperation instead of war. You cannot, win the entire world with war. You need cooperation, and cooperation is something which is very much necessary. Stressing the importance of unity in tackling common challenges. Emerging threats, he pointed out cyber, maritime, and space are new areas of potential conflict. So, space I have been mentioning a lot. Maritime threats, obviously, they are there and they are there for a few, I would say, decades now. Cyber threats, again, emerging threats because as we adopt digitalization, this domain gets diffused. These kind of threats or this kind of, I would say, problems can also be there. India's commitment, speaking for 1.4 billion Indians, PM Modi shared India's success in lifting 250 million people out of poverty and expressed India's willingness to share this experience with other developing countries also. Means we want to be a leader of the global south. And the way we have lifted so many people out of poverty, we want these other countries also to lift their people, their respective people out of poverty. And digital public infrastructure definitely has played a major role over here. Reforms for relevance. So, reforms for relevance simply mean that if the multilateral institutions want to remain relevant, there needs to be reforms. Because if there are no reforms, then their relevance will be gone. Nobody will ask them. The developing underdeveloped world definitely will not ask them because there are alternates like United Nations, alternate is BRICS, which is coming up. So, if you need to be relevant, you need to do reforms. That was the clear message by the Indian Prime Minister. Okay, highlighting the inclusion of African Union in G20, we said that, we did this in our presidency of G20. We included African Union in G20. And if we, being a developing country, can do this, we are setting an example. The developed countries and in fact all the countries of the world should be reforming the multilateral institutions. Then only they will remain relevant because they will be more inclusive then. Technological governance, he called for fair global rules to ensure safe use of technology, suggesting that digital public services should be kept or should help connect people around the world. India's global vision is said one earth, one family, one future. This was the tagline of India's G20 summit. He said that we are still with this. This entire world is our family and we all have a collective future. And since we all have a collective future, we should be working collectively as a family to achieve that future, to achieve a prosperous future, to achieve an inclusive future. And this is how the world will be converted into a better place or a better world. Next is UNSC emergency meeting on Lebanon. See, Lebanon as a country is not attacking Israel. You should understand this. There's a militia group which is based in Lebanon known as Hezbollah, and they are Shias, Shia militant group. They're having ample support from Iran as well. They are attacking, Israel. Why? Because last year, last a few days ago, we talked about those pager blasts in Lebanon. So Lebanon is these Hezbollah people, they were targeted. They believe that Israel has done that. Israel says that, you know, Israel has said actually nothing, but only a statement came from one of the ministers that, Israel is, and we are entering into a new phase of the war. And Hezbollah started attacking Israel. And in counter attack, Israel attacked Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon. So, key events, airstrikes. The Israeli ministry hit southern Beirut, killing Ibrahim Akil, a senior Hezbollah leader. Strike caused serious damage, collapsing buildings in this area. UN warnings. UN spokesperson Stefan Jurek warned that the region is on the brink of a catastrophe. Human rights concerns. Walker Turk, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, condemned recent attacks involving pager and radio explosions, which killed at least 37 people and injured over 3,400. He called these incidents a troubling new kind of attack that harms civilians. So, these recent attacks, explosions on September 17, 18, caused widespread panic among the people, and this led to the Hezbollah, which is based here in Lebanon, north of Israel, and southern part of Lebanon, Hezbollah is based. They started attacking Israel. Israel, in retaliation, launched counter attack on them. So this is actually what is going on. And yesterday or day before yesterday, in the Israeli counter attacks on Lebanon, around 500 people died in a single day. That was the most horrific day for Lebanon. I don't know what will happen in West Asia, but yes, West Asia is on the brink of war. And, you know, this has to stop. This actually has to stop. Else, there will be a catastrophe where many, many people, innocent people, will be losing their lives. Obviously, this is not something which is wanted by the countries over there and by the countries not over there also. So, this is how we need to understand and know things about this. Next, we are moving on to the MCQs now. Consider the following statements with respect to cervical cancer and mark the correct one. Cervical cancer is prevalent in females only. Cervical cancer is the third leading cause of cancer deaths among women in the Indo-Pacific region. Which of these statements are correct? Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Second, which of the following are India's contributions for tackling cervical cancer? India has developed an AI-based treatment protocol for cervical cancer. India has developed a vaccine for cervical cancer and will be supplying it to the Indo-Pacific region. India will contribute a grant of $10 million for cancer testing, screening, and diagnostics in the region. Region means Indo-Pacific region to be specific, or none of the above. So carefully answer this. This is a bit tricky question. Third, consider the following statements with respect to our common agenda report and mark the correct one. This report was released by UN at the end of Summit of the Future 2024. This report entails innovative approaches to current and future global issues. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. The fourth question, which of these issues were discussed in the Summit of the Future? Nuclear disarmament, achieving SDGs, climate goals. Only two and three, only one and three, all of the above. Last question, consider the following countries and mark which of them share a boundary with Lebanon. Israel, Jordan, Syria, Cyprus. Find the correct question. UPSC asks questions on these lines. So you should know the geography. You had the maps in the slides. So go for it. Now the answer to the questions of yesterday. Global South, a term often seen in news, best refers to which of the following? A. The developing countries of the southern hemisphere. These are? No, these are not. So these are developing countries, but these developing countries can be in the northern hemisphere also. The underdeveloped countries of southern hemisphere? No, it has nothing to do with geographies. the developing and underdeveloped countries irrespective of their location. This is the best explanation of the global south among these options. So this is the C option is correct. Which country will lead the combined task force in 2025? It is as simple, India. This was a clear, straightforward question. So India will be leading this global task force. Third, the Joint Space Program NISAR by ISRO and NASA aims at which of the following? Better surveillance in the Indo-Pacific region? No, it is not for this. Better conservation of natural resources for conserving the climate? Yes, this is for this. Communication satellite which will aid India's navigation capabilities? No, none of the above. No, because B is the correct answer for this particular question. Fourth, which of these programs of Government of India can reduce inequalities? Financial inclusion? Yes, financial inclusion means when you are including most of the population for financial services like banking, credit, insurance, and pension. So that is definitely going to have an impact. MGNREGA, it is an employment generation or guarantee scheme which generates employment minimum for 100 days for every rural household. So definitely it will help in reducing inequalities. So both of these, so C is going to be the correct option over here. So with this, we come to an end of today's session. I will be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. I'm not repeating it today. Namaste. Jai Hind.